Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
That's what I'm saying. Communication is the #1 tool if we're going to reframe anything, right? Reignite anything, reimagine anything. And it's also the #1 tool if you're going to work with a parent like me. That is for sure. So who am I? I'm still trying to figure it out, right? I'm sitting here with Kevin and Seth, and I'm an everyday parent. So my name is Gwen Samuel. And I am a parent of children that attend Connecticut public schools. So I had 2 children that were high school dropouts. But because dropping out wasn't an option in my house, one went back to school and got his high school diploma, and one used an alternative setting. We used an alternative setting, Job Corps, which gave him a GED, and it gave him some trade skills, some job certifications under his belt. And both of them are gainfully employed. And both of them probably make, one of them at least makes more than livable wage job. So we do know having the basis of an education is critical. But having strong foundation is even more critical. Because they were both high school dropouts. But reading is mandatory in our house as well as behaving. And I also have 2 children, like I said, in middle school and high school. I call them my Head Start and non-Head Start children, because I didn't know about Head Start for my first 2. And when they act up, I said, you did not go to Head Start, because they treat you manners and keep your hands to yourself. And they say, Mommy, are you really saying that to people out there? Absolutely. So I'm going to give a shout out to Head Start. I'm an alumni out there. So, with that being said, I am an everyday parent, really. I'm away here. I missed some of the program today because my daughter was sick. So before I came here, I had to make sure that the house was taken care of, there was child care in place, all the emergency numbers were in place, so I am a parent in every sense of the word. And I did try to be the bake sale mom. You will learn quickly that I am not your bake sale mom, right? So we might as well get that out the way. It's very important for you to know that as a parent, under no circumstance do I negotiate the well-being of children at all. Because when my babies wake up in the morning, they didn't call the teacher or the principal. When her head was hurting, her stomach was hurting, she said, Mommy, my stomach hurt. Please call the principal, call the teacher. That is not what she said. She said, Mommy, my stomach hurt. So let's put it in context, the importance of parents. So, but I did try the bake sale. I buy them from Stop and Shop, but I did try the bake sale moment, right? So, how did I become who I am today, which is this everyday parent standing in front of great people from across the country? So, fast forward, we had this first African-American president. I'm all excited. I was your traditional mom in every sense of the word. The letter came in the mail, told me what school I was going to, told me what teachers I was going to. That is the traditional sense of the word. 20 years, the same letter, different teachers, right? So the next thing I know, we get the first black president in 2008. So 2009, this man starts talking about an achievement gap. Then he hires our Secretary Arnie Duncan, he's talking about achievement gap. Then at that time, we had Governor Jody Rell, she started talking about achievement gap. I got confused because I was told for the last 20 some odd years that all was well. That little Johnny was a pleasure to have in your class. Oh yes, he is a helper. Yes, thank you. And I'm all excited. I said, baby, you must be going to college because you're doing fine and you're beautiful to be in class. They didn't talk about reading levels, right? Not about math academic. They didn't talk about core subject, the foundation. It was just a pleasure. So then all of a sudden, I said, what achievement gap? And then I found out that I was to blame for the achievement gap. Then parents, especially parents of color, did you know the schools are failing because of parents? Because of those children? Pastor, it was because of you too. I heard it from you too. And I'm like, I didn't know there was one. You told me all was well. So ergo, it wasn't all well in the land of Oz. So then, something interesting happened to me which changed my life, and I am sure if Google and lawmakers across the state could have shut down the internet so I couldn't get this email, they would have done so. Because it transformed my life, so I'd like to give a shout out to Google and all the internet providers, because there were not any dial tones at that moment. It was 1 o'clock in the morning, and and I saw this email from some Ben Austin. I didn't know them. How I got this email is because I believed in parent power. Didn't know what power I needed to have. I didn't know there was an achievement gap. So I Googled parent. And everything parent, I signed up for a newsletter. That's how I learned stuff, right? Just signed up for a newsletter. You weren't really giving us data, right? Because you only wanted us for parent-teacher conferences and that famous bake sale. And you want to make sure we can do raffles. My job is to make sure that kids can spell bake sale, right? I want to make sure they can spell cupcake and know that there are 2 F's in raffle. That is the parent that I am. So then I get this email, and it was so interesting because I opened up 1 o'clock in the morning. It says, for the first time anywhere in America, parents have been empowered and entrusted with the legal right to force change. So I said, oh, this is how we're going to fix the achievement gap in Connecticut, since I'm the fault, right? Since it's all my fault that everything's failing in Connecticut, let me do my part to improve it. So then I seen this law, and in January, it's very important for you to notice the date, because it was January 6, 2010. By February 10, 2010, right? What was that, a month and 4 days later? I started reaching out to the lawmakers and said, look, I heard they got it all going on in California. The parents are now taking responsibility because you know they're the blame of everything, right? And so since they're the blame of global warming, they want to improve their conditions. So because of that, I reached out to the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus, which is our legislative body of lawmakers of color. And their job is to make sure that our rights are protected. They could do better. I still love them. So, but nonetheless, but they did great this day. So I introduced it to a former state representative, Jason Bartlett. I said, can you introduce this bill to the state? He said, you want me to lose my job? I did not understand, it was tough. What was the problem with working with parents? If you want to improve the conditions, let's be very clear, there are kids in your classrooms, so I call that OPC. When you got other people's children, then that means you better know how to behave and know how to educate them and do right by them. So then we introduced this bill. Fast forward, parent trigger, we introduced it. The state went crazy. Oh my God, they were calling us animals, trying to run the asylum. I cut and paste everything. I had to give a shout out to Snip Tool because I was cutting everything. Because you can't be calling us all kinds of names like that because you have to partner with us. Teachers are very important to me. You become my family. At the point that I give you my baby, we become family by definition, right? You have my child. And so I am not, they said, you were anti-teacher. No, I'm pro-child. You said things are failing. You said we got dropout factories. I happen to know you got a good prison system. So let's not talk about the school-to-prison pipeline. Oh, I forgot. You thought because I was of color I couldn't read. I keep telling them. Literacy and people of color are not interchangeable words. Just because we're of color doesn't mean we can't read. They said, Miss Sam, you just can't say stuff like that out public. I was like, well, why are you talking that way? So nonetheless, we introduced the law. Because I didn't understand, right? You said it was me that was to blame. I'm trying to handle my business. So I met with other parents, Amelia Arseniegas from the Hartford Parents Union. I started reaching out to parents across the country because I had the pleasure of being a part of a 2010 Mom Congress time check. You let me know because you know. So with that being said, I met great parents from across the country because I had the pleasure of being selected to be a part of Parenting Magazine's Mom Congress contest. So I literally got to interact with moms across the country. So when I say I reach out and speak to all 50 states, make no mistake about the power I want to bring with other parents is we are the second bounce. They want to know the answer? That's my answer. We are the second bounce. The pastors are the second bounce, right? The community leaders are the second bounce. The children in the playground are the second bounce. I love you, Jim, but you didn't do a good job of mentioning me. I was listening for parents in your conversation. I said, I got to talk to him later.
It's the timeline. It was in the 11th minute. In the 11th minute, I was.
Okay. I had to make sure I got concerned because he said, teachers, you know, they got to do 60%. No, we don't expect you to do it all alone. We don't expect, I know you're not Superman. He just did the movie, The Man of Steel, right? I know you're not Superman. I know teachers have a tough job to do. And so we're here to be that support. Parents can be your biggest cheerleaders, but make no mistake about it, we can be your biggest headache too when it comes to the class, our children. So fast forward, we had this major education rally. That's how I met Gabe Ford and Parent Revolution. I knew they had a shoestring budget, but they flew down from California. And this was the most parents of color and students of color that the Education Committee within the state of Connecticut has ever seen. They actually said that. We've never had this many people of color at the Education Committee. And so there was like, and then I even had reformers. Gwen, I have to talk to you. This parent trigger thing is usurping our stuff. We're trying to introduce it. I said, you do you. Parents have to do us because we have to protect the educational rights of our children. That's what we're hired. That's what our children. We were blessed to have children by. I choose their dentist. I choose everything else about their lives. But when it comes to education, you think that's just all about you. And I just want to let you know. Not my house, not my children. So with that being said, we had this rally. And we got I done picked up the wrong thing, y'all. See, that's what happens when you get nervous. So we did an education rally. Parent Revolution came down. We showed at that time, we had 184 failing schools. Now there's 355. So when they say, Houston, we got a problem, make no mistake about it. And Seth, we sure need you in Connecticut, but that's another conversation. So anyway, I thought I was even important, right? I got to meet Secretary Artie Duncan. He writes me this personalized letter. So I'm saying, and I know people in Washington, y'all, so maybe things are gonna get better in Connecticut. And at Jeopardy say, what is the wrong answer? Because it really was just as political up there. So that's when I know we need a parent revolution. And I mean that in every sense of the word, because parents want to do best by their children. And instead of judging us of what we don't know, teach us what we need to know. So then we can just keep it moving, right? That's my side. So I even tried to do the other side. So I got to I met Randy Weingarten. I mean, I had to meet her because she her union wrote a very bad thing about us. They chose how they can go after parents in Connecticut to stop the parent trigger. And that's when I knew I had arrived, right? Because I was on their presentation. I didn't even know the people, never met her. And I'm in this national training on how to go after the parent trigger. So then go back. And I even met Lily Eskelson. She's a great storyteller. I love them. I don't know why they don't like us. I like them. I want to work with them. But don't get it twisted. It's all about our children. So we do, and I say that not to be anti-union or anti-teacher. I am pro-child. I want what's best for my children because you're filling up our prisons with our babies. And I want to give them a college ID versus a prison ID. So that is why I'm existing today. That's what God said I exist today. So, fast forward. Then I thought I was being neutral. And I brought Michelle Reed to Connecticut because the other side wasn't listening to us. So I thought if I bring her, that the other side would leave me alone. That did not happen. I brought her March 14th, and I got fired the next day, March 15th. I got a termination letter. And it's very important for you to understand this letter. It says, we have removed you from the New Haven Public School System for your work with Head Start parents because of your personal advocacy. The very reason that they hired me was the very reason that they fired me. When it comes to parents' rights and the children's rights, I don't negotiate. And so it was tough, so they fired me. And they said they were sorry, and said they'd love to work with me out in the future. And it was hard, because during that time when I had got this job, I was part of the 99. When the recession hit, I was unemployed for a long time. CLNP wasn't trying to hear, I'll pay you later. They weren't trying to hear. So those were some hard times. So this letter hit me hard. And when you hit me hard, they thought I was going to go home. I just hit back and just started working hard and working with parents across the country. So then at that time, when that letter came, I got to meet Jerry Willis with Fox NBC. They heard I got fired. People felt sorry for me. They said, all you want to do is help them babies get them 26 letters of the alphabet. And, they just fired that lady. So when she go to New York, so they sent the limo for me to come get me. But I had just got an attorney, and when the other side heard I was going on Fox News, they called my attorney. Look, we want to negotiate. We'll pay her out her contract, but we go to Fox News if she just stay home. So I had to think, do I not tell the story about how the status quo is treating parents, or do I just take my money and stay home? I decided I'm going to tell the public about how the status quo is treating me, and you still going to give me my money. Right? Because you can't treat me like just doing right for children. So, at that time, Then I got selected to speak at Congress, so I really thought I was a riot. First it was Artie Duncan, then I get to speak for Congress. And then I got to sit on the panel with Kevin Chavez, and I was like, Chambers, and I'm like, I am really up there. But then when I got back, everything was still business as usual. I thought everything would change in other great states and that we were going to value parents and we were going to love all children, and no. So that didn't occur. Then I got to meet Whitney Tilson. He helped me with some of these presentations and tried to help me understand those who tried. I might as well keep it real for you. This stuff is new. It was a crash course in education reform. I really am an everyday mom. If you see my car, I got 2 slippers in the back seat. I am really that mom. So, I say all that to say this. Then, so we did get 2 laws passed. So the first law, we got the school governance laws passed, and so we got school governance. That's our weaker form of parent trigger, but we do have the power to improve our school. We just need a little more, because the status quo came after us again, because they were allowed to sit on our school governance council panel. And so the panel, school governance councils, can vote to change the school, but then some of the status quo still don't want to change the school. So we're still working to improve our law for our parent empowerment law. They don't like parent trigger. So remember, Connecticut's a messaging state, so you can't say parent trigger. So we'll just say parent empowerment law. They'll make them feel better in come time election. Last thing, and then this year we had last year we had a great law passed. I worked very hard, 2 years on this law. Because the state of Connecticut was one of the states that arrests parents for choosing great schools. So then that's when I really got confused, because you said parents are lazy, you say parents don't care about education, but yet when we take our kids out of the school district that have failing, put them in another school, you call the police. I'm just not understanding how that works. You can't have it both ways. Right? So we were very instrumental in changing the law, and Governor Malloy, I'd like to give a shout out to them and to the Judicial Committee and Education Committee. They passed a law. We no longer arrest parents. Are we still embracing choice? No, we have a long way to go. But at least they're not arresting parents. Ohio still has a law. Pennsylvania is currently trying to change the law. So don't arrest us for wanting to do right by our children. Either we're in it together or we're not. But make no mistake about it. Parents have moved from the sidelines and they're into the game for education. So as I close out, my name is Gwen and I approve this message.